Good afternoon, everybody. Today, we are continuing with the Parents Webinar series from last week. This is the fourth in the series that we are giving for the parents. Today, our dear Tomachan will be talking about how to raise the children on the age groups from 5 to grades 5 to 8. And there are a lot of things that we are learning these days, a lot of things we are going to learn in the coming days, and especially today. It is our honor and privilege to welcome Tomachan to today's presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Let's take a moment to place ourselves in the presence of God. Let's thank the Lord for this gracious moment. Let's invite the Holy Spirit into our hearts as we listen to this topic, why you shouldn't yell at your kid. Let's thank the Lord for the gifts of our children. Thank the Lord for the wonderful, precious gift of the family. Let's offer ourselves into His loving hands. Let's allow the Spirit of the Lord to work in us, mold us and shape us in the way that He wants us to be. Let's also seek the intercession of the Blessed Mother and Saint Joseph, who raised a wonderful kid, Jesus Himself. Let's ask their intercession and seek their example to be truly good parents. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Once again, welcome to this evening session. Why do you yell at your kids? That's a question. Or if I ask you, have you ever yelled at your child? The answer I can expect, yes. There won't be anybody who probably have not yelled at your child. But then what all of us want is the best for our kids, Our children should be the best. They should have the best opportunity. They should get the best education. And they should be the most wonderful people in the society. That's what all of us dream about our children. We want wonderful children. And sometimes we have also problem in choosing what kind of parenting style I should adopt to obtain that goal of making my child the best child in the world. Last week we reflected on effective parenting, and we said being and doing that which promotes physical, emotional, social, intellectual and spiritual growth of the children and promote the happiness of the parents, that is effective parenting. We said, so whatever I do should promote the growth of the child. That is effective parenting. And all of us want to be that wonderful child, wonderful father, wonderful mother. I want my child to tell me that you are the most wonderful mom in the world. I want my child to tell me, Dad, you are the best dad in the world. Yeah, that is very nice. As long as you are doing all that the kids want, they will say that. But sometimes what happens is you may not be able to fulfill all their requests. Sometimes they do things which go against your demands and your plan. So we may have problem in that wonderful relationship with our children. Probably you have experienced it. Suppose you have more than one child at home. If there is a boy and a girl, sometimes there will be a fight between the two siblings. So your son is pulling the hair of your daughter, and you will say very gently, stop pulling the hair of your little sister. If that works out that way, it's wonderful. Sometimes what happens, he does not stop. He continues because he wants to get attention. This boy wants to get attention, that may not be a positive attention, it's a negative attention, but he will enjoy even that based on his nature and character. So now you lose your control, your enlightened parenting techniques evaporates in the cloud of frustration. And the result is yelling. You yell at your child and say, I say, stop torturing your little sister. You can go even further. Stop torturing my daughter. You can go further. I will throw you out of the window. You can say many things to your child to get things done. Stop him doing what he is doing. There are two categories of children, main two categories. There will be so many in between, but then there are two main categories. One is a spirited child, the other is a compliant child. A spirited child means a very strong-willed child who wants things in his own way or her own way. That's a spiritual child who thinks that she knows everything or he knows everything. A compliant child is the good one. All children have strengths and weakness. Some show their weakness, some hide their weakness to please you. So a compliant child, he is so good at studies, or she can accept corrections. They won't show their weakness because they won't be pleasing to the parents. They are very obedient, very responsible with their duties. They have a pleasing nature, and they accept no if it is coming from the parents, and but then they can't take yelling. If you yell at them, the whole world will come down for them because they won't be good in the eyes of the parents. A compliant child cannot stand yelling at him or her because this child does everything to please the parents. They will go out of their way to please the parents, but then they cannot take any yelling. If you gently correct them, they will accept it. If they ask for something and if you say no, they will accept it, it's fine. But then, if you yell at them, they cannot take it. And a spirited child, very strong-willed, thinks that they are like adults and they can do everything and they won't be free, but then they are not, they are children. A spirited child shows his weakness in your face. A spiritual child is not afraid to show his or her weakness in your face, but then they have difficulty following instructions. They have trouble in accepting criticism. They can't take corrections. They can't even say no. They ask for something, yes, it has to be granted, it should be given. If you say no, they will throw tantrum. They will not accept that. They have difficulty in taking responsibility because, they don't think that they should take responsibility for anything and even for their own actions. They manipulate the parents by throwing tantrum. So that is a spirited child. When you tell your child something, before you finish or before you completing your sentence, you'll hear, I know, coming from a spirited child. I know. Before you can say anything fully, you'll hear it from the child. I know everything. I know better than you. You know nothing. You are outdated. This is a spirited child. And it's not very easy to be nice to a spirited child. But then, it's also a child, a wonderful child God has given to us. We have to deal with the spiritual child too. They will make you feel guilty sometimes. When you scold them, when you correct them, they'll say, I hate you. I hate you. Or I wish if you were dead. Oh, strong words they can use. But then they don't grasp the real meaning of what hate or what death is. They don't really mean what they say. When they say, I wish if you are dead, they don't like that you should be dead. They don't want you to die. It only means they need a strong word to attack you and make you feel bad. That's all. When they say, I hate you, they know that hate is a strong word. It can make you feel bad. So you made me feel bad, and I won't make you feel bad, so I choose this word, I hate you. Or even stronger one, I wish if you are dead. That is a spiritual child speaking to defend himself or retaliate to what he experienced. And for a spiritual child, parents are not in charge of their life. Parent means a worker. You go out and work and bring what I need, get my food, clean the house. Suppose you tell a spiritual child, you clean up your rooms, he'll wonder, why the heck are you asking me to clean up my room? It's not my responsibility. They can't accept it. And you have been doing it, you continue to do. I have no objection, you can clean the room. But then I'm not supposed to clean my room. You will be doing it because you are there for me. So that is their attitude. When you hear such things from your spiritual child, do not personalize it. Do not personalize these statements. When they say, I hate you, or when they say, I wish if you are dead, please remember, do not personalize what you hear. They don't exactly mean that. Suppose you are speaking about an accident that you had. Probably a spiritual child who is hurt by some of your comments or some of your corrections or your parenting will say, oh, I wish if you are dead in that accident. Probably you can hear. So that does not mean that you should be dead. They just say that, yeah, you hurt me, I am hurting you back. I won't hurt you back. So, when you personalize that, you can say, the child says, I wish if you are dead. You say, get out of my house. I don't want you to be here. You can be aggressive. You can yell at the child. Then the child is growing in aggression within, and he'll tell himself, when I can do that, I will do it. Until then, I will torture you. So this is a kind of challenging relationship there comes. The spiritual child likes drama. All the shows goes on in the house. They like autonomy, they like to be free, they want to be free, they like leadership, they want to be at the center of the program. They want to be the center of the attraction. So yelling at a spiritual child is not going to help. If you yell at a spiritual child, we said, if you yell at a compliant child, it is horrible for that child. Child cannot take it because for him, the whole world is coming down. If you yell at a compliant child, he will do anything to avoid that yelling. For a spiritual child, it does not help either because he likes sometimes your yelling. He enjoys that because in a negative way, also he gets the attention. So when you yell, you become passionate. There are only two people in the room, you and your spiritual child. All others, they do their own business. So he gets or she gets all the attention. So he is happy with that. She is happy with that. So your spiritual child knows she or he has captured you. So yelling at that child is not going to help. So all that she wanted was that attention, and she got it. And she will continue to do whatever she did to get you yell at that person. So your child, now coming to your own family and your child, is your child a spiritual child, or is he or she a compliant child? Maybe your child is in between the two. May not be a spiritual child, may not be a fully compliant child. There is a large spectrum in between. So there are so many children who fall between these spiritual and compliant categories. Now, no matter what category they belong to, they all do mistakes. They all misbehave. That is the truth about children. Children make mistakes, they misbehave, they have their naughty nature. No matter how nice a person you are, you can lose temper sometimes with your kids. You can get frustrated sometimes, When kids misbehave, yelling seems to be a natural response to that behavior. Yelling at kids looks like a disciplinary action, I want to discipline my child, and this is the way I want discipline. I will yell at the child, and I can avoid this thing happening in the future. There is something called the reward and punishment technology in behaviorism. There's a school of psychology called behavioral psychology. The behaviorists will say the behavior that is rewarded will be repeated, and the behavior that is punished will be eliminated. So if I want a particular behavior for my child, what I need to do? I need to reinforce that behavior. If I want to eliminate a behavior from my child, I need to punish that behavior. That works. But then yelling is not the punishment. Yelling is not going to help. So parents can be frustrated because of various reasons. Because first of all, parents have expectation of your children. All of you have expectation from your children. You have set certain standards for your child. At times they don't meet your expectation, or they fall short of the standards. They don't reach that standard. You tell your child, don't use cell phone during the study time. And when you walk in, you see the child is using the phone or watching the show. It's normal that you can get frustrated. How many times I have told you, don't use phone during the study time? You get frustrated because you are just human. It's quite natural that you feel that way, because you told this child, for the good of this child, she should not be using this cell phone during the study time. And when you come home, you see this and you can lose your temper. And you have told your child, do not ride your dog. Sometimes the child thinks that dog is the horse, and then they'll ride. It can hurt the dog, or dog can bite the child. So because of various instances, you tell them, but then they continue to do that. Or, your son is so picky at dinner. You give some broccoli or some vegetables, some cabbage, they don't want to eat that. They just, go for a hunger strike. And you tell, you are not getting up until you finish your dinner. Yeah? That's not a bad thing. You can go to that extent without any problem. But then yelling at the child is not going to help. Maybe a better way is rewarding the positive behavior. You instruct the child. Suppose the child does not eat at this time. You get into a kind of dialogue and see how much can you eat today. If you can eat half of it, you get half an hour watching video game. If you eat full, you get 1 hour. If you don't eat, you don't get any hour. So getting the child to do it by rewarding this behavior is more effective than punishing the child. Yes, sometimes you also need to punish the child, but then punishment should not be yelling anyway. So frustration and anger is the reason for yelling. So when you are frustrated with your child, and when you are angry with your child, you start yelling at the child. So frustration and anger is the reason for yelling. As a parent, you know that sometimes emotions control your thought, word, and actions. It is not your reason that is controlling your behavior. It is emotion that is controlling your behavior. And children can really push those buttons you didn't know that you had sometimes. You were quite fine until you had these kids. But then now they can push that button where you yell at them, you lose this control, your temper. What are some of the situations at home? So why the demands of parenting? There is a sibling fight. Children fight between, among them. So you have to deal with that situation. How to protect one child from the other. Otherwise they'll kill each other. So it's Abel and Cain. The sibling rivalry, sometimes sibling fighting. Homework time is another thing that parents get into conflict with the children. Children don't want to do the homework, and parents know that unless they do the homework, they can't study, they can't excel, and they can't really succeed in life. So, for their own good, they lose temper when they think of it. And another reason why usually parents lose temper is the media use of the children. I remember once one child, one Saturday morning, started playing the video game. It went on for 1 hour, 2 hours. The mother came and said, "Hey, stop doing that." Then, after some time, he's not stopping. Dad came and warned him, "Stop that." He did not even hear, because he was so immersed into this game, and he, did not even pay any attention. After 4 hours continuous sitting with the video game, Dad came and pulled the wires and said, "Stop." And this child became very wild, furious, very wild. So wild, so much so, the parents had to call the police to control this child and get him some help later. This can happen sometimes. So situations like media use, then disobedience. You say something and they don't bother, and you are challenged in your identity. You have questions about yourself, your responsibility, your role as the parent, so you lose your temper. Or irresponsible behavior at home of any kind. So many times you say, "I have told, don't throw stuff around. I have told you, don't pull your sister's hair. I have told you, finish your homework." But then, not very effective most of the time. So frustration and anger are the primary reasons for yelling. Frustrations and anger, okay? So now, there are other sources of frustration. It's not only the kids who are making you frustrated. You have frustration from other sources of life. Like, suppose there is tension between husband and wife. You can be very frustrated with that situation. You don't gel very well, husband and wife. Parents, you don't get along very well. Then there can be problem. You are tensed, you are worried, you are sad. You are not very happy at this time, and the child walks in and you pour everything onto the child. Displacement of your frustration onto the child. My dear friends, this is what happens very often at homes. Many children do not deserve what you give them. They don't deserve it. You see them doing something, but then other times you are not affected by their behavior. If you are affected at this particular time, it means that it's something about you. It's not about them. So we need to make a distinction. Where is it coming from? My frustration, is it from the behavior of the child, or is it from my own baggages that I am carrying? If I have some other problem, I need to deal with those problems in a better way, not by expressing it on the child. So tension at work sometimes. You work all night, it's a night shift. Suppose you are a nurse and you work at night. It can be very stressful sometimes. You get 2 admissions and you had 6 patients, and you had to take care of everything, and you had some problem with your boss there. When you come back home in the morning, you are not in your best mood, and you struggle. And then the child does something or says something, and you just pour out everything onto her or onto him. It's not going to help the child. It's not going to help the family at all. You need to deal with that in a very different way, more effective way. Maybe there's economic constraints at home. You had to pay your bills and you find it hard to do that. Now child is coming, you pour it on to the child. Maybe you have health issues. You have, high blood pressure. That itself is a problem. When you see something very simple, it can simply skyrocket your blood pressure and you can yell at the child. It's not because of the child's behavior, it's your problem. You need to take good medication for your blood pressure and take good rest so that you will be better. In many cases, I know, depression of the parent is the big problem. the child is facing. Parent is having depression, mom is having depression or dad is having depression, and they don't take proper treatment, and then they just take it onto the child. The child is the victim there. It's not because of the misbehavior of the child is yelled at, it is because of your depression. If you have a condition like that, you need to take care of that in a better way. Don't take it on the children. So your problem between your husband and wife, that is your problem, you have to solve in a healthy manner. If you need to go to a therapist, go to a therapist and talk it over, a family counselor, no matter what you need to do, we need to do, and then take care of that in a better way. So often our anger towards kids coming from our own anger towards the spouse and other sources. One thing is frustration, another thing is anger. Why we yell at the child? First thing I said, it is frustration. The second thing is anger. What is anger? All of us have that beautiful thing called anger, right? I'm not proud of that anger that I have sometimes. I think you too are not that proud of your anger. What is anger? Anger is a strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, and hostility. A strong feeling of annoyance, displeasure, and hostility towards somebody or towards a situation. Very strong feeling. Anger, many parents struggle with the issue of anger, which affects their relationship with their children. So they have set unrelenting standards for their children. And, we say shoulds and musts. Should and must, we say shoulds and must. There is a therapy called rational emotive behavior therapy developed by Albert Ellis. I think in 2007 he died. He was born in Pittsburgh. This man went through a lot of struggles as a child. His parents were divorced when he was 11 years old. Then at the age of 18, he was depressed. He went through a major depression. Then he hated himself. He did not have any self-confidence. He struggled through his, childhood and his adolescence. Later, he wanted to overcome his things, and he started learning psychology, and he learned psychology, developed a theory called rational emotive behavior therapy. In this, he says, we all have a number of irrational beliefs incorporated into our system. So all of us have received a lot of irrational beliefs, primarily from two sources, one from our significant others, the other one is autosuggestion. What you heard from your parents, your significant others, you incorporated all those things into your system, and you started believing them to be true, and they are so much part of you. And you also have, these beliefs through your auto-suggestion. You kept on repeating to yourself, this is how things are. And you started believing that. One of such thing is called musts and shoulds. That means I must be like this. I must get 100% to be successful in life. If not, I am a failure. All or nothing. Either all or nothing. So we have a number of faulty thinking, distorted thinking, and false beliefs in our system. Such things can be also, we will transfer to the children. So things should be this way. He must be this way. You shouldn't be doing this. You must be doing this. So this is how we set standards for our children because of the understanding that we have about situation. So we forget the fact that they are children. Sometimes, they don't meet our standards. They don't meet our expectations, and then we cannot stand that. We can't stand anything less than perfect. So we forget the truth that they are children. So when you are angry with your children, you need to ask yourself, am I concerned about my child and the good of my child? Or is it about me? Suppose you tell your child, do not go for the movie tonight. Okay, don't go for the movie. And the child goes for the movie. When he or she comes back, you are mad at the child. Why are you mad at the child? Is it because you should have had a reason why you said that he or she should not go for the movie. Because it's not good for the child at this time, it can be dangerous, it is risky, it's not good, you'd not want. But now you're mad at the child not because of the bad things that would have happened to the child, but that child disrespected you. Now your integrity, your authority is at stake. That's why now you're mad at the child, not because of the safety of the child. That is not your primary concern now. You disrespected my command. What I told you, you'd not obey. You must not be doing that. So this is how we get angry. Behind every anger there is a thought. Anger is a feeling. So when you're angry, there's a thought behind the anger. So he or she has violated my rule, or he has failed to follow my instruction. So that is a thought. When your child went for the movie, even when you told don't go for it, your thought process is going on like this. He or she has violated my rule. He or she has failed to follow my instruction. And this is a clear sign of disrespect. This child does not respect me anymore. Now the feeling comes. I am mad, I am angry. Now my behavior is I yell at the child. I shout at the top of my voice, my lungs out, and then I will intimidate the child by yelling at. Because you did not listen to me when I said, now I want you to hear what I say, and I shout at you, I yell at you. Now you hear. And then I'm mad. I'm mad. My behavior is this. I yell, I'm mad. So the thought that causes anger, children don't meet my expectation, or they violate my rule, they disagree with me. These thoughts can cause you to feel the way that you feel, and then result is that you yell at the child. And remember, yelling is not the best way. Yelling is not going to solve the problem, it's going to worsen the problem. If you think that your yelling had been effective, I have heard from parents who told me, yeah, it was effective. I yelled at the child and I could control them with that. It's a false notion, my dear friends. It's not going to be effective. You might have controlled your child's particular behavior at that time. That's not going to help the child. Yelling is not helpful at all. It can be helpful in a couple of occasions where suppose your child is, crossing the road without looking at the car. You are seeing it, you can yell at the child and say, stop! Get the attention so that the child will not be hit by the car. That is helpful. Or little child is going to catch the stove, the hot fire. Then you can yell, no problem. You can get the attention, capture the attention of the child so that he can explain, okay, don't do that again. Immediately you need to get that attention. Otherwise, yelling is not going to help. It can affect the personality development of the child. It can have far-reaching consequences on the health of the child, long-term health issues. So, yelling is not going to help the child. When you get frustrated with your child, one thing you need to remember. Always remember this one thing. My child is just being a child at this time. Don't expect the maturity of an adult from a child. When a child is making a mistake, it's a child. He or she is a child. And that's how they grow. That's how they learn. And don't think that this is the end of the world. And don't think that they are going to be like that forever. So just understand that this child is being a child at this time. That will take away a lot of pressure from you. That will help you. My child is just being a child. He will make mistake. She will make mistake. You say something, they will do just the opposite. Don't think that this is something about you. Don't personalize that experience. Just say, my child is being a child. I know he's going to be better. What are some of the excuse me. What are some of the long-term effects of yelling? Some of the effects of yelling. The harsh parental disciplining, like yelling, can have several negative consequences, negative impact. There had been number of clinical studies, and they have found about the long-term effects of yelling on the kids. So if you yell at a kid, it has got far-reaching consequences. First of all, it leads to bigger behavioral problem. Why you yell at a kid, you want to change that behavior. You have found some behavioral problem with the child, you want to change that behavior, you yell at so that the behavior can be changed. But they will have more behavioral problems if you yell at the child. So yelling makes the behavioral problems get worse. It does not help. You might think that yelling at your kids can solve a problem at that moment, and sometimes you think it was successful, but it's a myth. It is not going to solve the problem, or you think that it can prevent them from behaving in the future like that. It's not going to happen. Research shows that it could actually be creating more issues on the long run. Effects of yelling at your kid, you make them yellers in the process. You make them like yourself. You make them yellers because they learn from your yelling. When you dealt with a problem, they saw you were yelling and they think that, yeah, dealing with a problem is this way. And yelling can actually make your child's behavior worse, which means you have to yell more. You yell at the child's behavior gets even worse, and you have to yell more, and it's a cycle. It continues, a cycle continues. So behavior is bad, you yell, behavior becomes worse, you yell more, and it is worsening cycle. So that is not going to help. And yelling affects the brain development of the child. When you yell at a child, it affects the brain growth of the child, the brain development of the child. So yelling changes the way their brain develops. Yelling and other harsh parenting techniques can quite literally change the way your child's brain develops. That is because humans process negative information and even more quickly than positive information. When you're yelled at, your brain is processing that information more strongly, fast. You say some good things, that will take more time. So this takes predominance about in the child's mind. There had been some MRI scans done on the brain of the people, two categories, those who were yelled at as a child and those who were not yelled at a child. So the people who had a history of parental verbal abuse in childhood had a different set of brain pattern than those who did not have a history of abuse as a child. So they found a noticeable physical difference in the parts of the brain responsible for processing sounds and language. You know, processing sound, there's something called auditory cortex, and we have auditory pathway. Sound comes and goes through the auditory pathway and reaches the auditory cortex, and the reflexes are made. So the area of this sound processing was different for those who were yelled at from those who were not yelled at. The same way, the language processing also. The people, those who had been yelled at as a child, had a different set of language processing thing in the brain than those were not. So there is a auditory pathway which is affecting, also influencing the language processing. So it means it is affecting our brain development. When you yell at a child, it is affecting the brain development of the child. So you also have heard about the effect of words on water. You know, once I told during the catechism teachers training time, I spoke about this. About an experiment done by Dr. Masaru Emoto in Japan. Masaru Emoto, through 1990s, it took several years for him to do this experiment. He made an experiment, the physical effect of words, prayers, music, and environment on the crystalline structure of water. So when you speak to the water molecules are changed, transformed. You can't see it there. I hope you can see this picture. The effects of thoughts and words on water. When you tell the water, thank you, you can see this particular structure there. So here, this is the effect of words. When you say thank you to water, you see this structure is changed like a flower. When you say, you make me sick, you tell the water, simple water. Suppose I take this water and tell, I appreciate you. It changes. Suppose I tell this water something like, I kill you, its molecules will change. The effect is different, You show love and appreciation to water. You say, I love you. It makes a difference in the water. When you say a prayer over the water, the water is changed. That's why when you say grace over the meal is changed. So it is so important to remember that every word that we utter has an impact on the other person. Let it be your child or your wife or anybody out there. When you say a word, it has a power, it has an impact on the other person, because we know we are water, 60 to 70%, So before prayer, you can see the structure of the water here, and after prayer, you can see what's the difference there. There's so much of difference. This is a scientific thing. It's a science. It's not myth I'm speaking about. It's science. It's an experiment. It's a real picture, photo, which I'm showing you now. When you say thank you, you can see what it is. When you say love and appreciation, you can see what it is. So much of difference is there in the water. Now the question is, if I am made of 60% or 70% of water, then when somebody says something to me, will I have a difference? Will the words have an effect on me? Yes, indeed. When you tell your child something nice, it has a positive change in that child. When you yell at the child, there's a negative change in that child. Our human heart is 73% water. Human heart and even brain is 73% water. So just imagine, you yell at a child, that 73% is affected there. Forget about all the other learning there, just even the biology is affected there. 83% of the lungs are water. Our muscles are 79% water, the muscles and kidneys. Even bones are 31% water. So we are made of this water to a great extent. So when you speak things to others, it is affecting them. When you tell something to me, it affects me. When I tell something to you, it affects you. There's an impact of our words on people, more especially our kids. So when you talk to the children, we need to always remember this truth, that my words has an effect on my child. If I say something good, there's a positive effect. If I say something bad, negative, it's a negative effect. There is something called the first law of thermodynamics, or the law of conversion of energy, which means energy can neither be created or destroyed. Energy can only be transferred or transformed. It can be changed from one form to another form, but not destroyed. So, Albert Einstein says, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. So, there is energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. Words are energy. When I say something, this is an energy. Energy cannot be destroyed. It remains there. Whatever word I speak out, it will be there in the air. What word you speak at your home is going to remain there in that atmosphere. We are in this beautiful church now. The words that is going here is prayerful, is blessing, and this place is filled with that energy. The words that is uttered here is filling this place with positive energy. Same way, if you utter all the curse words at home, your home is going to be filled with that negative energy. If you are telling all the negative things to your child is going to be filled with that negative energy, and it is not destroyed ever in life. It will stay there forever. That's a problem. So we need to be careful. So what are some of the psychological impact of yelling? When you yell at a kid, it hurts the kid is scared, the child is sad, the verbal abuse has ability to cause deeper psychological issues that carry into adulthood. Studies show that there is a connection between emotional abuse and depression and anxiety. If you abuse the child emotionally, the child can suffer from anxiety and depression later in life. So there's a psychological impact of yelling. The child who has been verbally abused can suffer also from low self-esteem. Yelling results in having children with low self-esteem. When yelling is accompanied with words of insult and humiliation, it has more lasting consequences. So if I told you yell, it's not good to yell at children. If I told you yell, please don't include words into that. The things that you say, it will go deep into their hearts. The meaning of the words will be imprinted in their hearts, which cannot be erased so easily. So even if you happen to yell, don't use words there. Don't give any explanation of things. You just bring out a sound. But then even that is not good. It's hurtful, but then it's better than using words in the yelling. Yelling also produces children with low self-esteem, I said, even later in their life. Not only children, in their adult life too, they will suffer from low self-esteem. This child cannot come out so easily. So you threaten the child and get things done, it's not going to help that child. You may think that you have succeeded in parenting, but it's a failure indeed. It has a social dimension too. Yelling has a social dimension. How does it affect socially? The behavior of the child. The social behavior of the child is affected by yelling because the child can get into self-destructive behaviors and actions like drug abuse or risky sexual activities. You yell at the child, you get things done there, you control the child, but then the child will come out in different forms. Will start using drugs sometimes. Also get into risky sexual behavior sometimes. So it affects the social life of the child. So you need to always remember, yelling is not going to help the child. It has also impact on the physical health of the child. Yelling has impact on the physical health of the child. Growing with verbal abuse causes stress, which can cause serious physical health issues in the adult life. Yelling can cause chronic pain in the body, different parts, different joint pains. A recent study shows the link between yelling and arthritis, bad headaches, back pain, neck pain. So the child who has suffered yelling can develop later these diseases, these problems, chronic pain, arthritis, headaches, back pain, neck pain, etc. So again, you make them yellers at the end. You yell at the child and you make them yellers. They also do the same thing as you do. Probably you can reflect back about your life. When you were a child, your parents yelled at you and you learned that behavior. Though you don't remember many of the events, your body remembers those things. There's a thing called body memory. The body remembers stuff. Even before it goes to the brain, the body itself is remembering things. So if you were yelled at as a child, probably you continue to be a yeller. So same way, you make your child too an yeller by yelling at the child. So I am being treated unfairly, I am being disrespected, so I do the same thing. The child will think this way, I am disrespected. Somebody told me recently, I will start respecting my parents when they start respecting me. You know, they also have a certain way of thinking. It need not be the way you think and you grew up. They have their own way of understanding things. If they cannot respect me, why should I respect them? And they have the right to be respected too. Every individual, even if it's your child, has the right to be respected. So they think when they respect me, I will respect them. Thinking this way leads to kids to feel angry. And sometimes they say, I will never be like you. And they will go to the mirror and see, oh, father, when did you come here, you know? So same father will be in the making in this child. Or same mother will come out of this child. Because you make them what you are by yelling at them. So it's not something nice, yelling at children. Physiological reactions are there. Other than this, yelling also causes physiological reactions in the kids. When we get frustrated, the brain releases what we call cortisol. That is the stress hormone, you know. So when you're stressed out, brain releases this hormone called cortisol, and too much of cortisol causes us to go to either fight, flight or freeze mode. You know, fight or flight response, you know. This cortisol is causing us to do this. Either we are frozen, we go to a freeze mode or flight mode or a fight mode. So when they are small, probably they have this freeze mode. Later, suppose after 10 or 11, slowly they change it to a fight mode. So that's why you suddenly notice a change in the behavior of the child. So far this child was very polite, very nice. When I yelled at this child, it was, you know, frozen, could not respond. Yeah, it was in a frozen mode, freeze mode at that time, but now, no more. Now it's in a fight mode. It'll tell you bad things. So that is the thing, it's not going to help. Fight or flight. Again, it affects the cognitive center of the brain. The brain shut down. The cognitive center shuts down and the emotion center takes over. Then the thinking is affected, emotion will control the behavior. So this is what happens to children too. When you are angry, same thing happens. Your all reasoning will go away and your emotions are controlling your words and action. Child also does the same thing. The cognition is shut down, the emotions take control of the behavior. And they will be either freeze and do nothing or scream back at you or throw tantrum. These are some of the ways. So my friends, time is running short, but then this is what it is. It's very important to remember that we need to control our behavior. A few things I just, as a concluding remarks, some ways of stopping yelling at kids. First of all, know your trigger. You should know what is triggering you to this behavior. Yelling does not happen out of the blue. It has a trigger. You need to find out what is triggering your behavior. Second thing, give kids warning. Before you start yelling, suppose the child is doing something not expected, you give them warning. You tell them, I don't want to yell at you. I want you to hear me without yelling at you. Please don't get me to that level. So I give you another 5 minutes. Please stop these things and give them warning. Sometimes that warning can be much more effective than yelling at the child. Take a time out. Suppose the situation is not good, you take a time out. You go to your room and you take a deep breath, or sometimes, you know, they say, yell out to the toilet, you know, and flush out that anger. So some of the techniques they use, we don't have much time to explain. So you move away from that situation for a moment. And a fourth technique could be, teach the lesson later. Don't think that this is, now I have to teach this child. The child is not in a position to learn now. I can explain it later. So allow this to happen later. And know what is considered to be the normal behavior. Don't lose hope and heart because there's a sibling rivalry, or your 9-year-old is eye-rolling or any such behaviors. Just think that this is a normal thing for this age. Or there's a sarcasm from your 11-year-old, or there's a sigh. Don't think that is an insult on you. That is the behavior of that age. So just know that this is a normal thing at this age. Be proactive. Suppose there's a problem in the morning, so the child is always late to school, so make sure that evening everything is get set ready, okay? Proactive. And adjust your expectations. Sometimes you have to just work on your expectations and your standards. Recognize what is it about you, not about your child's misbehavior, which I mentioned before. It's something about me and my life, not about the child. And have a yelling debrief. That means, suppose you happen to yell, you can call the child and tell later. That was very nice. When you did that, I was not very happy. I lost my control. I yelled that I should not have done that, but I'm sorry, it's okay. But you have to be careful also. Just debriefing can help. Then enter into respectful dialogue. Instead of yelling monologue, enter into respectful dialogue. So that's how we can deal with this situation. So yelling is never good for your child. Stop yelling and enter into dialogue with your kids. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you.
Thank you, Father Tom, for the presentation. I think Father Tom brought up a lot of good points on how to be effective in dialogue with our children. It actually reminded me of St. Louis de Montfort, who was known for having a fierce temper, and a prayer he would say was, "Lord, turn my unholy anger into a blazing holy fire." So let us also surrender our thoughts and words to the Lord so that he may make us instruments of his love for our children. Thank you, Tom Uncle and Shetty Uncle, for your technical support. And thank you all for joining our live stream. I invite you all next week for our live stream seminar with Paul Lichin. It will be at 4:15 to 5:15. From here on out, all our seminars will be from 4:15 to 5:15. So please make note of that. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you. God bless.